Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So today I'm going to talk hopefully about some solution. You know, it's with everything going on around the world, especially in the US, and me being over in the US for a couple weeks recently, it's kind of all combined, you know, like to what I'm doing and what I'm focusing on. It's which I think I think that's a key to some of our work anyway. Like sometimes my clients will be like, "Oh, I'm not sure what I should be working on, where my focus is." And it's like, "Well, what's happening in your life right now?" "Well, I'm struggling with this." "Okay, that's where your focus should be then." Like, so the way our life is unfolding basically tells us what we need to be focusing on at this particular time, individually and collectively. So collectively was, what I'm talking about now is, I was just exposed to the energy of the conversations of the news of what's transpiring in the US more than I normally had. So, what can I learn from that? How can I grow from that? What's capturing my attention? Like I'm back in the DR, so I don't need to be really focused as like I don't need to be doing this podcast. But yeah, I am. Why? Because these topics keep bubbling up to the surface. And really what I'm seeing now, I think, the focus always shifts, like how we see things constantly shifts. And what I'm seeing now is how embedded everybody is. Of course, not everyone. How embedded people are with their belief systems. Like that, the dysfunction has been going on for the major dysfunction, the up leveling of dysfunction has been going on for what, 10, 15 years now. And it's just, it shows no signs of getting any better. It's getting worse. So it really feels like those people that are going to pick a side, which unfortunately most have, are really anchored into that side. And they don't even know, they think that they're in the sole possession of the truth, or their side is in the sole possession of the truth. And it's interesting to me for, how I've approached all this dysfunction from a distance, kind of trying to look at both sides to stay closer to the truth. That's why I do it. I don't do it to stay neutral. If there was one side that was in possession of the truth, I would be on it. But it's just like neither side is in possession of the truth. And now year after year after year, people just only getting their news sources and their social media feeds, either pushing their side of the story or argumentative confrontation, though, that like it's just, you're just being fed. Like right now, it's kind of similar to like the dynamics of it remind me of a prison camp. It's just they pipe in propaganda, and then over time people actually think that what they're hearing is true. It's, you know, it's how it is, and it's unfortunate. But people are, you know, it's like you can't listen to whatever news channel you're on, the left side or the right side, whatever news channel you're listening to is lying, and it's inciting separation and controversy with the other side. It just is. And you can't sit there like, let's what I'm going to try to do is give you guys an example of how we see this in other areas of life, so you can like have a little distance between you and what's going on, because everybody's just going to sit there and go, no, it's not happening to me. I really researched in depthly, and I've looked into this, and I know my side is the truth. Wrong. You're mistaken. I'm sorry. Because one side isn't in sole possession of the truth. It's just not. It never has been, and it's way out of proportion. And if you just feed yourself what you want to hear over and over and over, you don't even know that you're doing it. So like, you know, what happens when, you know, it, like in celebrity, in sports, you know, where you have, I've talked about this before, where you have a kid that starts showing unbelievable athletic talent around the age 8. That's when I really started seeing it take off. Younger than that, you could still see it, but 8, kids as young as 8 years old, I was starting to see like, oh my God, like this kid has a natural ability in athletics that 90% of the other kids don't have. You know, you can start seeing that separation. So by the time they're teenagers, everybody in town on an unconscious level treat that child differently. The teachers treat that child differently. The owner of the pizza place treats that child differently because he's seen him play with his grandson or granddaughter. So like, it's just, they grow up in a different reality that like people want to hang out with them. Girls want to date them. Guys want to be their friend. Adults that could give two craps and not take any other kid seriously suddenly have an interest in this kid or talk nicer to them. Like their reality is different. And they're surrounded by people that no matter what they say, it's yeah. Oh yeah, man, you're definitely right. Oh, definitely. You know, and this happens with celebrity as well. And then all of a sudden they blow a gasket when they're worth millions of dollars and in their 20s, and they don't know how to handle it. And they don't know what reality is because they have nobody feeding reality or feeding them reality. Or the other side of the coin, you know, they're lucky enough to have a very strong parental influence, or they're able to stay grounded through God, or they're able to stay grounded through surrounding themselves with friends that they hung out with before they got popular, that weren't just yes people, that didn't, that actually spoke the truth to them. You know, and then they handle it much, much, much better because one foot's on the ground. See, it's the same mentality. Like it's not a level of intelligence or unintelligence. And I think people think that sometimes. It's not that. You can have the most intelligent person in the world, and if they are fed one side of an argument over and over and over and over and over and over, they're going to start believing things that aren't true. And this is what's happening. And quite honestly, you know, I think that I think we're splitting. I think, you know, I've talked about this before, where the middle ground is disappearing. So we're either going to be on one side or the other. And this is what it looks like. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this podcast, is, you know, being kind of reintroduced to this in the US again, like, and seeing how, intense it's gotten, it just reminds me of where I already knew we were. We're separating, we're dividing. So we have to figure out what to do with this, right? Like, and I think, like even me, I've taken some interest in some things that have transpired recently. Not crazy amount of interest, but I've looked into them and discussed them on this podcast a little bit. So there's such a strong pull. We care about our world and society and other people so much that it's basically impossible to not get sucked in a little. It's not impossible. It's just very hard to not get sucked in when you see all this controversy and these problems happening. Like, how can you not be affected by it? Of course I'm affected by it. Like, my head's not in the sand. I know what's going on. It's just I have to consciously choose what I'm going to do and what I'm going to do about it. And I do not see things getting better in the old paradigm. The old paradigm is based on greed and selfishness and anger and frustration and killing, quite honestly. I mean, it's just, this has been going on for tens of thousands of years. It's just, it doesn't work. And all the other societies that lived, all these other civilizations that lived like the way we're living, like there are small civilizations that are very, very old, that are peace-based and love-based, and those can go on forever. Like those, we look at them and we're like, oh my God, they don't have cars or anything new. Those poor people. They're not the poor people. We're the poor people. They're fine. And their civilizations will last another 100,000 years because they're based on peace and love. It's everybody else that isn't based in peace and love that's causing the damage. And all these other civilizations have crumbled throughout history, and ours is crumbling. Why? Because it's built to crumble. It's built on a system that's a pyramid scheme. You funnel money and power upwards, you take it away from the masses, and you give it to the elite. And then eventually, it's greed. Greed doesn't know when to stop. It doesn't. Like greed doesn't have a stop button. It's just a particular energy, and when you're in that energy, it's just more and more and more. And somebody comes up and says, hey, don't you think you have enough? And they go, more. Like it can't even penetrate because they're just indoctrinated to this way of thinking, and it's just they couldn't stop if they wanted to. They don't know how to stop because that's not the energy that they're in. So, like, it's weird now because the world is splitting and it's going to get uglier and uglier, and that middle ground is disappearing. So what do? We have to focus on the solution. We have to focus on what we're creating. We have to focus on whatever our calling is. Like I think we have to start looking at the bigger picture now and say, okay, we're creating a new paradigm. What is that new paradigm going to consist of? It's going to consist of everything. It's going to consist of people needing places to live. So therefore land. It's going to consist of more natural, earth-friendly style living. It's gonna consist of more things that are nature-based, like just the concept of having a round house instead of a square house. There's going to be more round houses. Why? Because the wind goes around it. That's why. Because it's smart. Like it's not standing up to nature going, no, thou shalt not blow this way. Like it just goes, oh, nature's winds are going to blow. Sometimes there's going to be hurricanes. And if it's around, it'll just go around it. Makes sense. Like people figured this out tens of thousands of years ago, and we abandon it because we decided that we're going to be stronger than nature. And then nature comes along and giggles and blows over houses, and then goes, well, guys, you're not going to beat me. Like, I'm much stronger than you. This has been happening since the beginning of time, and it's going to continue to happen. You guys are the ones that are trying, standing up against it and saying, no, this shouldn't be happening. And Mother Nature's going, yeah, it's supposed to happen. It's always happened, and it always will happen. The fact that you guys don't want it to happen doesn't change that. It's just silly. So my point is we're going to be going back to ancient wisdom and just using our brains to work with nature as opposed to against it. Education is everything's going to look different. We're creating a new paradigm in which to live. So the educational system is going to look different. The building materials for homes is going to look different. Where you get and how you get your food is going to look different. How people work is going to look different. Everything is going to look different because we're creating a new paradigm. So if you could take whatever your passion is and try to see how it can fit into the new paradigm that's unfolding, you can be part of building that new paradigm. And I think that this is what we need to start doing, looking and putting our focus on what we're creating instead of focusing on what's crumbling. Everything is crumbling. It's all crumbling, all of it, because it's built to crumble. It's built to get way too heavy at the top and then crumble down. And that's exactly what's happening. And it's not going to stop. What's mind-boggling to me, I understand that what I'm saying is a difficult concept to wrap your brain around. Like, I get that. Okay. So it's not that I think, oh, well, geez, it's just this easy. No, I get it. I understand that heck, I can't even wrap my brain around it fully. So I understand that it's a difficult concept to grasp. But what I guess what's a little bit difficult for me is how people can look at the world and think it's going to work out. That's what I don't like. I mean, I understand it, because I try to understand people. So I understand what they're saying. I just don't really understand why they believe it. That's what's a little bit hard. Like, what has gotten better in the last 100 years? Like, what? Have we fixed any social problems? No, we haven't. Has greed gotten worse? Has problems gotten worse? Has what they call mental illness, which I just think is a bunch of people that are having a hard time fitting into a dysfunctional society. If people are different than us, we push them out to the side and pretend that they're not part of our society and label them. And every time somebody makes a mistake, we label them as that mistake and call them a bad person. And with social media, some of these people, if it blows up big enough, we literally destroy their lives and their children's lives. And the way that we are living is so dysfunctional and so out of whack. I think we shouldn't have the audacity to say people that are resisting society are mentally ill. Like, they're probably the most sane ones there. Now, the actions that they end up taking is really unfortunate, because innocent people get hurt a lot of times. Because these people are just out of their minds. They can't take it. I mean, I remember when I was highly dysfunctional, when I was younger, I used to, I created plans about what to do when I finally snapped. And I literally did. Now, back then, this was many, many years ago, right? Back then, even then, I wanted, when I snapped, I wanted to take some bad people out with me. Good people, I wanted to take, somebody that was molesting children or something, or maybe multiple people like that or something. I want to take them out with me. Like that was, which isn't a good idea, by the way. And I don't condone that. But I was just very confused at that time, and I was very dysfunctional at that time. And people would have labeled me as mentally ill because I wasn't, I couldn't find a way to fit into a dysfunctional society. And that causes all kinds of problems because you think that there's something wrong with you because you can't fit into society. But really what it is there's something wrong with society. So it's going to behoove us to take some time and start figuring out what to focus on, and we have to focus on solution. It's just there where there isn't going to be a president, or like everything is corrupt. I guess I'm just, that's the part that I have a hard time understanding is that like you don't see corruption on both sides. You don't see it embedded in the fabric of our government. You don't see the fact that they haven't passed a budget in 7-8 years as a problem when both sides have been in office. You don't see that everybody below the president is just as corrupt. Like it's not a matter of a party or a person coming in. It's the entire system is rotten to its core, and you're not going to fix it. It's not going to be fixed. We're not going to elect enough good people to suddenly turn the country around. They don't have the power. They literally don't have the power. Like, you know, and I, no matter who it is, they don't have enough power to fix everything that's wrong. Nobody does. It's been tens of thousands of years in the making. And we think we're going to elect the right person or a few of the right people and push a bill, and then all the world's problems are going to be solved. No, it's not. I don't care who's in office or what party's in office. It's not going to stop the school shootings. It's not going to stop this or that. Like, you name it. You name the problem. It ain't going to stop it. How do I know this? Because it never has. It hasn't. Like, that's how I know it's not going to, because it hasn't. And I don't know why people aren't seeing this. I mean, I do know why. You know, it's just because this is what we do. We're basically brainwashed to society. Society is everything that we most people think that there is. So to lose it, they can't even wrap their brain around it and imagine it. So they're just like, I've had conversations with very intelligent people. I had a conversation with my father years ago, who's probably one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And I remember walking down a political discussion with him years ago, because we agreed on a lot of basic logic, but we disagreed on some of the political stuff. And I remember talking him through point to point to point, where we got to a crossroads where I basically showed, like, I don't want to make this sound like I was right and he was wrong. I got him to a place where he understood my line of thinking. And I showed him, this was many years ago, and I showed him how his theoretical solution in a political genre was not going to work. And I didn't have the solution. I was just trying to show him that what he thought was going to work was a bad idea and it wasn't going to work. Once I finally got him to understand my line of thinking, he went, okay, then what are we supposed to do? Nothing. And I went, yeah, nothing, or let's spend our time looking for an actual solution. Because the logic of using a solution that I just showed you wasn't going to work is just because you can't think of anything else and you don't want to sit there. Like, that's a bad reason to do something that you know isn't going to work on some level. Like, you know it's not going to work. It isn't. It never has. It never will. It's not going to work. But people still keep trying to make it work because sitting still and not doing anything is too uncomfortable. Or they don't even know where to begin to find the alternate solution that actually might work. So since they don't know, since that problem is overwhelming, to try to find an actual solution is overwhelming, and sitting there doing nothing is too uncomfortable. So they're going to go spend their time and their energy putting effort towards a solution that they know is going to fail, or at least there's a 95% chance it's going to fail. People would rather do that than sit still and be in the uncomfortability or try to start looking into a solution that's overwhelming. They would rather just do the wrong thing so they feel like they're accomplishing something and they can just go about their everyday life without having an emotional panic attack because they're sitting still. They feel like they're doing something and they can just lie to themselves and go, well, it might work. No, it's not going to work. But it makes them feel better. So that's one of the reasons why we stay stuck in this, is because the alternative is too overwhelming to look at. So I get it. I understand it. But like, those of us that are capable of it, we need to start looking into the other direction. We just have to. It's the only way we're going to create a new paradigm. Like, we can't create a new paradigm by waiting for it to be created. Like, we have to create it, So this is, big financial, and we're going to be supported. Like, those of us that are love-based, like, you guys know I'm working on this big land project. Like, I know that or some other version of that I can't even see right now is going to come in, because I have all kinds of ideas about how to put energy towards this new paradigm and help create it and help people and philanthropy and heart-based, love-based paradigm and all this stuff. There's so much that I want to do that's going to be good. Then why wouldn't the universe or God support that? Like, what? I mean, God's sitting there going, okay, well, I'm going to give, a bunch of politicians tens of millions of dollars and have all their things work out, and not fall apart on them and get them really rich because they're selfish and greedy. But Glenn over here, he's like love-based and he's going to do good things. So I'm going to make sure he doesn't have the money that he needs to accomplish these things. Like, what? Why? Why would that make sense? And I don't think I'm not going to go off on this too long, but, I don't think God is making all these things work out. I just think that these people are manifestors and actually believe in what they're manifesting, the politicians and stuff. So that's why it's working out, not because God is feeding them, right? I'm just saying, if I have the belief that this can happen and I'm doing good things, I think that I will be supported by a good energy, which is God. So, and that's another thing, is making money. I truly believe now is the time to take some chances, because we're going to need money to buy land, to create new businesses, to create new love-based paradigm. We're going to need that. So there's going to be a large shift of finances into our favor, those of us that are on this path. It's already starting, but it's going to continue, and get much, much, much greater, because it's required. Like, this is, nature always balances itself out, and we are way out of balance. So, the meek shall inherit the earth. Like, so it's going to start coming back up. And like I said, it already is. So we have to put ourselves in position to be that. We can't sit home or on social media complaining about what's going on in the areas of society that are falling apart, and put our attention and our energy towards that, and our worry and our fear. And like, that's what most people are doing. They're caught up in it, and they're putting their fear towards that. And we have to disconnect from that, and we need to focus on what we're creating. And that can be, some of the big things that I talked about earlier, creating new businesses, and taking whatever your passion is and trying to find a way. Like, I heard this guy, I forgot who it was years ago, on this show, and he was talking about, he was a business person, and he would show earth-friendly ways of enhancing people's businesses. And he said a lot of people think that his job is very difficult, because he has to go to these large companies, these large CEOs that are based on profit and greed, and go try to talk them into doing things more green, that are actually good for the earth. And he was like, no, he's like, it's not hard at all. He's like, I've got the best job in the world. He goes, because the fact is the natural way of doing things that's in alignment with the earth is much more sustainable, and it's much more financially viable, and it actually increases their profits and makes their business reputation look better. It's like, so there's no downside. Like, it's not a difficult sale at all. I don't walk in and say, hey, you guys want to save the earth? I walk in and say, hey, you guys want to double your profits? And then all of a sudden I have their ear, and then I show them how they're going to, maybe not double, but increase their profits dramatically. And he's like, so then I show them how I'm going to do that for them. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is wonderful. Where do we sign? Oh, didn't you say that this was good for the earth too? And he goes, oh yeah, it's good for the earth too. This is how. And they're like, oh my God, we could market that in such a beautiful way. We're going to look like heroes. And he's like, yeah, you are, So he's like, I've got the easiest sale in the world, and this is what we have to understand. That's where we're going. And when we're in alignment with nature, it doesn't make things more difficult. It makes them easier. So, more and more people are fed up with the healthcare system. More and more people are fed up with the educational system. More and more people are fed up with the governmental system. More and more people are fed up with the work system. So we need all those new things. We need the new paradigm created, and more. So, if you go and you say that, so, this is what I'm talking about, putting our focus on how we can integrate a new, loving, healthier way of being with, for lack of a better term, profit, because that's how we're going to sell it. It has to be financially feasible. And not just financially, but just feasible in all ways. It has to make sense, But when we have something that makes sense and works well, and we hold it up against something that's dysfunctional and doesn't work well and is crumbling, it's going to do well. Like this is what it's already happening. There's lots of things that have turned to the more green. Like, the reason I keep bringing up green is not because I think we're going to kill the earth. We can't kill the earth. The earth will shake us off like a wet dog if we do too much damage to it. The earth is fine. However, I do believe in living in alignment with nature, just because, a dog doesn't crap where it sleeps. That's just common sense to me. So I don't think we should destroy earth. I think we should work with it. So I actually have to pause here just for a second. Okay, I'm back. So, and there's no way I'm going to remember exactly where I left off. But sorry about that. I had to stop. So yeah, we need to focus on creating this new paradigm. Earth-friendly stuff helps. So that's, I guess I didn't remember where I was, I think. So like, this stuff just takes off. So I talk about the earth-friendly stuff just because it's a good example, not that it's the only example. It's just, if you hold up something that is in alignment with nature, that's more financially feasible, that is love-based, that works better than the old, and you hold them together right now, the thing you're creating is going to take off. Why? Because the other version of it is crumbling. That's why. Okay. So people are looking for alternatives right now, and that's just going to increase. That's why it's going to take off. So as and this is not a new mentality. I mean, every time there's major problems in the world, like, a bunch of millionaires are made. Why? Because people that take advantage of situations don't see it as a problem. They see it as a natural unfoldment of things. So what they do is they try to see how they can take advantage of the situation and benefit out of it. Nothing is good or bad. It just is. And it's just what we have to do to take it. Are we going to get wiped out by it, or are we going to hop on the solution? This is exactly what I did when COVID hit. I could feel it was going to be big, so I started meditating like 4 times a day. How can I ride this wave? Because it's a big wave of energy, and I'm either going to get wiped out by it, my life is going to be kind of damaged by this big wave of energy, or I'm going to find a way to ride it. And I ended up riding it right into the Dominican Republic and changing my life, so, and living a much more peaceful, happy existence. So this is what we need to do. There's energy we're in this big wave of energy, this big change. We have to find ways to take advantage of it. And the ways that are intelligent, make common sense, love-based, and are better than the thing that's crumbling, more people are interested, because they're seeing everything crumble. So they're looking for an alternative. They're going like, what do we do? What do we do? I don't know what we do. And this is partially why people are so stuck in watching the old paradigm crumble, is because we haven't shown them enough to look in the other direction yet. And that's going to increase. We need to start putting more attention to the new paradigm we're building. So all these people that are frustrated, they don't have to sit in the middle and go, well, I'm just going to participate in the dysfunctional stuff because I don't know what else to do, and I can't just sit here. All of a sudden we hold up this other opportunity. You go, hey, you know what? Your kids can get a wonderful education being homeschooled that is more directed towards them and what they want, by coming over here. They get an individualized education instead of this pre-packaged, everybody's the same education, and they don't have to go to a school where they might get shot up. Like, what do you think? You think parents aren't going to be interested in picking that? Of course they are. Right? This is what I'm talking about. This is the type of stuff that we need to keep doing and do more of. We need to give people the other option, because what the old option is falling apart and it's crumbling. And this is every area of life: what they eat, what they drink, where they sleep, how they build their houses, where they live, sense of community, creating new formulas for communities. Like it's just everything. It's absolutely everything. Every area of life, we're going to need a new way to do it. So if we focus on that, we can give people things to look at and things to choose over what's crumbling. And that's where our focus needs to be. So yeah, it's gonna be a short one. I've said this before, I'm trying to do shorter ones. We'll see if it sticks. But that's gonna do it for now. So thanks for listening, and I will talk with you guys soon. Let me know if I can help.